everybody. Welcome to We Run on Reruns. I'm Amanda, and I'm here with my brother, Eric.
Hope everybody's having a good week so far.
Yes, it's a good week on my end. How's your week going, Eric?
It's going okay.
We are definitely moving now with Stranger Things. We're on episode 2. We really loved recapping episode 1, where Will Byers vanished. You know, he vanished and Hopper jumped right on the case after finding his bike in the woods. He's working with the rest of the police force to find him. The boys are also starting their own investigation, and we not only met 11, but we discovered that she has psychokinetic powers and that a government agency who is tapping the phones is after her and willing to murder others to find her. So it seems pretty dire.
I'm just going to say this. I know I said it during the last episode a number of times. I really love the first episode. I think the first episode is a really great first episode for any series. Like it put a lot of people in play. It gave us a lot of information about who these characters are, and it left you very intrigued and wanting to watch the next episode. And since they released the whole thing all at the same time, it's very easy for people to go, click episode 2, next, I'm watching it now.
Yeah. And that came out back in 2016, right? That first aired.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, and so it's been a while, even though we only have 4 seasons.
I was late to the game. I did not watch it in 2016. I probably watched it when the first 3 seasons were out.
Okay.
And then I watched season 4. I'm going to air quotes like live. You know, it was when it was released is when we watched season 4. But I'm very excited about season 5 coming out. And I learned, I didn't realize this. Maybe you already knew this. They're doing it in like waves. So they're going to release the first 4 episodes on November 26th, which is like right around Thanksgiving.
Okay.
And then they're going to release the next 4 episodes on Christmas Day. And then the final episode will come out on New Year's Eve.
Interesting. Just one episode?
The final episode on New Year's Eve.
And maybe it's a longer episode too. I feel like sometimes
Possibly.
The last,
But
okay, interesting.
Even if it's not, I thought it was really smart because you're pinpointing when are people at home.
Yeah.
Like people are going to be at home at Thanksgiving. People are going to be home at Christmas. People are going to be home at New Year's. Like they're going to get crazy views.
Yeah, Netflix does do that. Although I have to say, like, I really miss kind of the longer seasons with shows. Some of these seasons, it's like you wait for like 2 years and then you get 8 to 10 episodes. Some of them are even like 6 now. I'm like, what is going on with this? This is
no, I don't. Yeah,
not a fan.
I wish they were longer seasons. I feel like Game of Thrones really ruined that for me. Like the last season of Game of Thrones was only like 6 or 7 episodes, and it was brutal. Should have been 20.
Listen.
Everybody's mad about that one. That's like famously terrible. But
that is an entire podcast we could get into talking about that last season.
And in all honesty, I didn't hate the way it ended. I know a lot of people did. I didn't hate the ending for it. I just didn't like the way that they rolled it out. You know, that's the problem. Like the result that they came to was fine. The way that it went was rough.
Well, and so hopefully we won't see a repeat of that with this show, but I'm feeling pretty good about it.
I'm feeling great.
Yeah. And so, you know, just before we dive into episode 2, you know, we like to just mention that if you enjoy our banter here, if you enjoy listening in, any one friend that you can share our podcast with, we just really appreciate that. And, you know,
I mean, you've got one friend. You got one friend, right?
Hey, listen, just
you got a friend somewhere.
You know, sometimes we have friends we haven't even met in person. You know, we have
maybe we just tell the mailman.
Send a link, So, but all that.
Tell the person at the grocery store, like, you know, tell somebody.
Excellent. Yes. So, but we are talking about episode 2, which is chapter 2, the Weirdo on Maple Street.
Rude, the weirdo. That's so rude.
I know.
But anyway.
Well, the weirdo, it's implied that it's 11, but really, you really find out there's a whole bunch of weirdos on Maple Street, and I think
There
that's
are a
really the
few.
meaning behind that title. Yeah. So we kick it off with the boys being in the Wheeler's basement again, which is on Maple Street with 11. So they have found her in the rain. They've brought her back home. And really, Mike immediately takes the lead of being, taking on that protector role, I would say, right? Or immediately. And, Lucas kind of steps in and is kind of wanting to, it's like, what are we doing here? Like, he's very skeptical, which also I totally get that point of view
Totally
as well.
understood.
It's like, it's good that they all have their own balance within the group. Some of them, the Lucas and Dustin are both kind of like really skeptical. Mike is wanting to be, take her in and really understand what the problem is. But remember, they're also the reason they found 11 is because they're looking for Will. And so the other boys are sort of like, dude, we're getting distracted here. Like, we need to find Will. So they're in the basement. 11, they're trying to get her out of the, she's in wet clothes. They offer to give her, clothes that they have to warm up, and she immediately just she's about to change in front of them, and they're like, hold on,
Hold on a second. Whoa.
And that's when they really are realizing, she's not communicating the same way that we do. Like, she's not behaving the way that any of the girls that we know would behave. So this is all wrong,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Something's off. There's definitely, she has different experiences.
Yes.
And we don't know what they are. And there's something is up here.
Yeah. And so they bring her into this side room, and Mike goes to close the door to give her some privacy. And she just quickly is like, don't close the door. She wants it to be just a little bit open because she's just clearly afraid of enclosed spaces, which I think is, pretty common for kids at that age anyway. Just, thinking about like going to sleep or, just not wanting to be fully alone. Kind of, I think, having that idea of, hey, someone else is out there. And we find out a little bit more about that later. But, Lucas again is saying there's something seriously wrong with her, like wrong in the head. And they suggest that she's maybe escaped from a hospital at that point too. And he really feels like,
I mean, she's in a hospital gown too.
Yeah.
Which, leads, that's the first natural instinct. I think Lucas's reactions, which are harsh because on some level, watching the TV show, you go, oh, but like, you should take care of this person and figure out what's going on because clearly she knows something.
Yeah.
But Lucas doesn't know that. Lucas's reaction is probably very realistic for most people. Like, what are we doing here? This can't be right. We should get somebody to be aware of this. We should notify somebody that she's here.
Did she still have the hospital gown on at that point, or did the guy at the restaurant give her like a t-shirt? And
she definitely had a yellow rain jacket.
But
I don't know if she had. I thought she still had the hospital gown.
Yeah, that's what I was just trying to remember.
Raincoat.
Maybe that's what it was. Yeah, and because they definitely. I mean, either way, the shaved head. She's not speaking. Like something is definitely different here. Mike plans to have her sleep at his place that night and sets her up into this little fort under one of the tables in the basement. And then he realizes that she has this tattoo on her wrist, and he notes it's like, hey, I've never seen a kid with a tattoo before. And she, shares that that's her name. He wants to call her Elle for short though, because I think he immediately recognizes too. It's like, your name probably doesn't need to be what's just tattooed on your wrist. Let's kind of give you a little nickname, also because he has a. Mike is short for Michael. And I think he just is trying to bring her into the fold and make her one of them.
Yeah, it gave her a little bit more sense of connecting with Mike, right?
Yeah.
He says his name is Michael, but people call him Mike for short. Her name's 11. Let's call you Elle for short, right? Makes sense. That's what people do.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah. And then we're with Hopper showing up at the Byers' house. The police were searching all night. They're not finding anything. and that's when he sees the barbecued phone. And Joyce is telling him that it was Will. It was Will that was on the other end of the line, and he really is not accepting that. She really makes a dig back to him saying, wouldn't you know it if it was your daughter breathing on the other end of the line? And that really cuts the conversation deep at that point.
That is a brutal line for Hopper to hear.
Yeah.
But you have to understand, in Joyce's situation, she's now starting to believe that breathing was Will.
Yes.
She's got nothing else.
Yes.
Police aren't finding anything. He's gone. There's no trace of anything at all. He's a pretty responsible kid. How would this happen?
Yes.
And so she's clinging on to the one thing that she's got. Meanwhile, Hopper's trying to be very logical about everything. Like, we don't have any clues here. He's not out in the woods.
Yeah.
This could just be a prank call. We see that from time to time. And Joyce just snaps back with that. Wouldn't you know your own daughter's breathing?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, and also to her credit, it's like, it doesn't sound like she was getting these types of phone calls before. And now all of a sudden her child is missing and she's getting these phone calls and a lightning bolt like through her phone. Like, what's going on here? Like she's putting it all together. And I think when you're going through a traumatic event too, you're connecting all these things, right? Like
you're grasping at straws, trying to connect something.
Yeah. Yeah. So, Jonathan even is then offering to help Hopper by going out to Lonnie's house because Joyce has not heard back from her ex. He's not picking up the phone. So the police are going to track him down. But Jonathan wants to jump on it, and Hopper tells him not to do that, to stay back with Mom.
Right.
But then.
Which again seems to be code for.
Yes, go do it.
Go ahead and do it because you told the boys not to investigate and they're going to go investigate. And you tell Jonathan, hey, don't go see Lonnie. And guess where Jonathan goes later in this episode? He's going to go find Lonnie.
I mean, this is classic. Yeah, it's gonna.
We're not listening to the cops.
No.
We just do whatever we want anyway. Yeah. Apparently in this town,
listen,
come on, Hawkins, get yourself together.
Yes. So we are, then we're kind of back with Mike and 11, where he's bringing her an Eggo, and suggesting that 11 goes and rings the doorbell so his mom can meet her to help. And she's just like, no, bad people are going to come and get me. And this is when he really starts to understand how threatening this situation could become to not only her, but his entire family. She's making, a gun motion with her fingers, like pointing at her own head and then pointing it at Mike. And he's taken that pretty seriously.
I would imagine I would too.
Yeah.
Right? Like if this person who is clearly had some trauma in their life is saying, no, if you call somebody, like, boom, gun, yeah, that's not good.
No.
That's not good for anybody. And I'm taking a second thought about my actions at that point.
Yeah. And, meanwhile, the whole town is still out searching for Will, and they're combing the woods and really making these side comments about how Joyce has really been crazy for some time now. And so, I just hate that whole theme where it's like, oh, her son's missing, so let's talk about how crazy the mom is. And I think this one other cop who really just seems like a jerk just keeps making these little jabs both at Hopper and at Joyce and the whole situation. So I don't know. He's very young, but he seems very jaded. I couldn't really figure out what that dude's deal was. But I don't know if you had.
Yeah. I don't know. This, what you're talking about, like the second cop.
Yeah,
there.
The younger guy with the glasses.
Yeah, I think he's just second guessing everything.
Yeah.
And to me, what all that does, like, I'm not taking offense to any of his comments, but what I would say is all that does is it reestablishes that Hopper has instincts. And this guy
Yes.
doesn't.
Right.
And maybe the other police officers don't. But Hopper knows something is up and he's going to work on it. He's going to figure it out.
Yeah. That's a great point.
But it just shows like not everybody at the police station feels that same way. And definitely not everybody at the town feels that way. And that, I think, is a realistic sense. If this happened in your town, there would probably be people being like, well, so-and-so is a terrible parent anyway. That's why this happened.
True.
Like,
yeah.
that's
You're gonna get
that's
that.
gonna happen. So I do think that's a realistic outcome of what would be happening.
Yeah.
But all it does is it puts our protagonists in a better light.
Yeah, that's so true. It's like, people always blame the victim. There's always going to be that person who does that.
So then the next thing we run into is there's a pretty short scene here, and I'm going to refer to him at this moment as the administration. We find out a name for him a little bit later, but he was kind of the older guy who's like back at the Energy Institute.
Yep.
He had like some headset on. He was listening to Joyce's recording, and he seems to know something about Will.
Mm-hmm.
And through his little discussion there with the other scientist people, they seem to have a little bit of insight. It's a very short scene. We don't know a whole lot about it. And, in all honesty, Amanda, this show is cut into very short segments.
Yes.
So you get like a 30-second look, a 30-second look, a 30-second look, unlike some of these sitcoms that might go for like 4 minutes on a scene and then flip.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of quick moments. And again, it just makes you need to watch this whole episode. And I know that sounds ridiculous, but like how many people watch TV with their phone in their hand now?
Oh yeah, a lot.
You can't have your phone in your hand watching this show.
No, you're gonna miss
because you're gonna miss little cuts.
Oh yeah.
And each of those little cuts adds up to something.
Yeah, that's half the reason why people I think need to rerun things because you're not really paying attention the first time around. It's like, hey-o, I might have missed half that episode. Yep, gotta go back.
That's why we're here.
Yeah.
We're paying attention.
Yeah, that's right.
You could just pay attention to us or just listen to us.
Yeah,
and you can listen to this a few times if you like to.
Right. And but I think that's a great point, Eric, and they really do an excellent job of weaving all of these. Like you get a little snippet of this character in this moment, and it's like expertly woven into the rest of the plot. So like, right after that scene with the mysterious gray-haired dude who is listening in on Joyce's phone call, then you have Steve and his jerk friends at the school inviting Nancy to a party, but being like really just nasty. I'm like, what?
It's a real hard cut, right? From this to that.
Yes.
But you do get Steve, they're trying to invite her to a party because someone's parents aren't going to be home and they've got an empty house. And Nancy's reaction is like, hey, it's a Tuesday.
Right.
And they're like, yeah, but this is the opportunity that we have, so we're going to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And Nancy's kind of like torn on this whole thing, but this now becomes the introduction to a major part of this episode, this whole party situation.
Oh, it definitely does. And they not only are being, just kind of, a little bit mean to Nancy, or just teasing her rather, about not wanting to go to a party on a Tuesday night, and Barb is there with her too, and Barb is kind of like hanging out on the outskirts, but she's there, and I get, she is invited along with Nancy, or Nancy brings her along with her, and but as they're talking as a little clique, they turn and see Jonathan hanging up flyers for Will, who's still missing, and
not only do they see this, but they start like jabbing at Will as an outcast.
Jonathan.
And that kind of, I'm sorry, yes, Jonathan. They start jabbing at Jonathan as an outcast who's hanging the flyers, and that's kind of the first opportunity that you get to see how Jonathan is painted in front of his peer group, where he is not a popular kid. He is on the outsides looking in, and therefore when he's trying to hang these flyers, Steve's two friends, who I don't know what their names are. I don't care. They're jerks.
Yeah.
Like those three are kind of like making jokes, and Nancy is the one who goes over. Who reaches out to Jonathan, and is very sympathetic and empathetic for Will, and then the bell rings and everybody's got to go to class.
Yeah, but Nancy is very sweet to him, and you could tell she's not being fully pulled over into the other side, and is trying to make a distinction there. Yep.
She has to be like relatively connected to Jonathan because like this is a sibling of like friends of theirs.
Yes.
Or not friends of theirs, but siblings of theirs.
Yeah.
Maybe Nancy and Jonathan are not friends, but their brothers are friends.
Yeah.
So therefore they are at least remotely connected.
Oh yeah, for sure. And again, small town. I mean, they've known each other their whole lives. So, and then we see Mike leaving school early, or maybe he didn't really go at all. That part wasn't clear to me, but he goes back to the house.
He did not go.
He didn't go at all. Yeah.
He kind of like hid in the bushes and then doubled back
right.
when the house was empty.
Yeah. So he wants to then go back and hang out with 11. And he's showing her around the house. And really what 11 is caring most about are the family photos. She's looking at all of his pictures. And then I love the scene too where Mike is, she's looking at the lazy boy, the chair. And she then sits down in it, and Mike is like showing her how the legs pop out when you use the little hand bar on the side, and Mike says, "That's our lazy boy, where Dad sleeps." I'm like, "Oh God, did you hear that?" Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, Mr. Wheeler,
yeah, classic. Yeah, gosh.
Okay, so the next scene we have really is Jonathan driving in his truck, and I don't think we really know where he's going at this point, but there's an inkling that he's going to hang out with Lonnie. We're going to go find Lonnie to try and track down Will. And it's playing in the truck, the song, Should I Stay or Should I Go, which is, again, great 80s music, right? And it causes this flashback to show Jonathan and Will sitting on what I believe is Jonathan's bed, listening to a stereo playing that same song back at them. And you hear in the background Joyce and Lonnie arguing and yelling at each other. And Jonathan is doing the best he can to turn the music up and drown it out. And he's talking to Will about how you shouldn't like things just because someone tells you that you should, which I thought was a great line and a great lesson from this episode. Just because someone tells you that you should like them doesn't mean that you have to. And he uses some examples of things that Will likes and tries to connect it. And, he's trying to paint Lonnie as this guy who's like, just because you're making, he wants you to be this way, doesn't mean you have to be that way. And this is kind of the scene that Jonathan is replaying as he is trying to find Will, going to see Lonnie and all that. And then we get Joyce shopping for a new phone. She's asking for 2 weeks advance, and she's trying to basically generate some cash, be able to not have to go to work. She wants to be able to sit with this phone by herself, and her phone is fried. So she's gone to where she works, just picked out a new phone, and she's asking for money, and she's trying to make a really good case to her boss that I should get this money and this phone.
Donald.
And she does.
I need this phone, 2 weeks advance, and a pack of Camels. She's throwing in the cigarettes. Yeah.
And he caves, gives it to her. And then we get a quick flip to these administrative people from the lab in hazmat suits at the buyer's house because Will's not there. Joyce is at the store getting the new phone. Jonathan's on the road. So there's nobody at the house. And so these guys show up. They have all their white hazmat suits on and some sort of like detectors, like
Yeah.
trying to find energy, it seems like. And the main guy, the main administrator, who we're about to find out his name here in a moment, gets into the shed. And in the shed, he finds this little like piece of goo type thing, very similar to what we were finding on the walls in
In
the
the
first
lab.
episode
Yeah.
in the lab. Yes, before you got to that big breathing like wall. And you get like a zoom in on this, and you can tell that, okay, they know what they're looking for.
Yes.
They see that something's gone on here. And Hopper doesn't know. He's not looking for that. And Joyce and Jonathan, they don't know what they're looking for. They're just trying to go about the regular path at this point.
Yeah.
But that's another very quick scene. And then we
Yes.
flip back to 11 and Mike at the home, going through trophies and going through different things. And then they find the picture with Will. And Will is in this picture, and 11 recognizes him and
Yeah.
knows him.
Yeah.
And she takes her finger and points right at him.
Yeah, and it's when she points to Will and Mike is recognizing, okay, have you seen him? Was he in the woods with you? And at that moment then Mike's mom comes home, and Mike is then they're hustling to get, because they actually were starting
Well,
to
he's
come
supposed to
down
be
the
at school
stairs.
still.
That's right. And they're both starting to come down the stairs at that moment. So they race back up, and he tells her, get in the closet, which again, as we saw earlier, she doesn't want to be in an enclosed space. But he says, I promise I will be back, but you need to hide. And I will promise I'll be right back. She doesn't know what a promise is. So he explains to her, it means something that you can't break ever. So she agrees, okay. Mike goes to cover for them with his mom. And, you're then seeing, you're with 11 in the closet as she's having this really scary flashback to when she's at what you imagine is the Department of Energy with the tall, mysterious, gray-haired man, and she's calling him Papa and screaming and
Right.
crying while these men are like, there's two of these giant men that are like dragging her down the hall, and it's like this tiny child, like, why are they needing these, like,
it seems incredibly aggressive,
yes,
right? Like these
it's
are
awful.
two guys that could like play like NFL linemen.
Right.
But at the same time, we have seen
what she
11
can do.
just absolutely tear through people at the
Yes.
restaurant
Yes.
and be gone.
So they're throwing her in a closet, and they're closing the door, and she is just in complete darkness. And that's why it's like, okay, yeah, now we understand why she doesn't want to be in a tiny enclosed space, because she's obviously had a lot of trauma around that, and so she's freaking out in the closet, having this scary flashback. And then we're with mom talking to Mike, really trying to coax him. Hey, you can talk to me. I understand why you're home. Your friend's missing. And it's all going to be okay. And you think for a moment, oh, maybe he's going to share what's going on with his mom. But no, he's made this promise to 11. So he doesn't share it. He just agrees. Yeah, it's what's going on with Will. That's why I'm home. And she lets that slide. She wants to be empathetic and sympathetic toward him as well. So she really, I feel like the Wheeler mom really does try to be really nurturing with the kids and listen to them.
I think she's doing the best she can.
Yeah.
And I think she's also, like we said a number of times in the first episode here, she represents like this like latchkey generation of parents where it's like, I want to be here for you. If you need me, you can tell me.
Yeah.
But also, I'm not prying
Yes.
through everything.
That's so, yes.
Like she wants to give him his autonomy as well.
Yes.
And so we get then Will going back up, opening the closet door,
Mike.
finding. Gosh, I'm gonna keep doing that. I guess I keep calling him Will.
There's a lot of kids. Yeah.
We get Mike going back up the stairs, opening the closet door to find 11 just in tears. And he asks her if everything is okay. And she says, it is. and she promises.
Yes.
So she's now learned the term.
Yeah.
And she's communicating. She doesn't say a whole lot. Like she says word like in 3 words or less,
Yes.
but she's working on it and
And
she's trying to figure it out. And so
yeah.
Mike gets it and we move on.
Yeah, and this is something that's really resonating with 11, and it's going to be coming back for sure. Like she's now understanding that will come back. Mike. No, I'm doing it. Oh my gosh. No, Mike will come back and he will, he will uphold his promise, and he's not just going to leave her high and dry. So, we're with one thing that I do want to point out in another really quick scene that we enter after this, because we're back with the cops, right? Where they're now they're at Benny's, which is where 11 was seen eating the French fries, and they're with this guy's body because he was shot in the head by the quote unquote social worker. And they're investigating this murder. So now not only they have a missing kid, they have a murder, and it's like, what is going on in this town where the worst thing that happened was the owl in that lady's hair. So there's a lot of stuff going down. And
well, also I have to say this. I don't know how often you float through like Reddit and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But like I'm on the Stranger Things Reddit, just kind of commenting on things every now and then. And they had a post up. Somebody had posted. You've seen these things where they kind of like try to poll everybody in the Reddit.
Oh yeah.
And they'll say like, oh, this person, and they kind of like put pictures next to people. And so the last one that I had seen, they were asking like, who deserved better? Right? In the entire series, who deserved better? And Benny got voted that who deserved better. Like Benny absolutely deserved better than this. He had such an impactful role early for all of about 3 scenes, and we never see him again. And it would have been cool to have Benny around for a little longer, I think.
Yeah, that was a shame. I agree with that. And then you have the cops looking over his body saying, missing kid, suicide, because they tried to frame this. I should reiterate, they tried, whoever killed him, this lady, they tried to frame it as a suicide. Benny. Which again, the one cop does say then, the guy with the glasses who was making the remarks earlier to Hop says, must feel like a big city cop again, huh, Chief? And that's when you realize, oh, so Hopper has left and now he's back. That's what that line implied to me, right? It's like, it's like he grew up in this small town of Hawkins, but at one point he left. He had been a cop in a big city apparently, and now he's back. Right.
And it implies that he's had big success in this industry. Like he has done very well as a police officer, despite what we have seen of him to date. Like the implication is there. And this is why this show does such a great job just not saying everything out loud, but you kind of just get to gather it naturally over time.
Yep, exactly. Because, and then it's like, you learned about his daughter passing away in the last episode. So it's kind of all adding up. It's like, okay, so he had a whole other life. You kind of
get a real picture.
Yeah, he had an entire different life, and now he's found himself back in Hawkins. And that could also then lead to explain, some of these comments from the other cop. They're probably feeling like, well, I grew up in this town and I've always been in this town type attitude, and you left us, and now who do you think you are coming back here thinking that you can tell us what to do type thing. So, and then we're back again where, we have a clip back in with Mike and Lucas and Dustin now at the house, and he's telling them, guys, she pointed to Will in the photo. Like, she knows who this guy is. And Lucas is really then trying to pressure 11 to tell them, like, how do you know him? Like, tell us what you know. And Lucas is then threatened. He's like, listen, we need to stick to the original plan. You need to tell your mom right now. And he goes to leave the room. And that's when 11 closes the door right on him. And meaning not with her hand, but with her
Nope.
powers, right? So she's sitting back on the bed and just slams it right in his face. He goes to open it and she slams
Twice.
it again. Yes. And she just looks at him and says, no.
And flips the lock.
Yes.
And flips
Yes,
the
that's
lock on
right.
it. So it's like, shut,
Oh.
click, no.
No.
And then you also see her with the bloody nose.
Uh-huh. Yes. And it's like, okay, this is a different scenario than things have taken a turn.
Things are getting intense.
Yeah. So
yeah. And then and floating around this, by the way, right before and now right after this scene, we also have Jonathan at Lonnie's.
Yes.
Where he's gone to see Lonnie. He's clearly not happy with him. And what ultimately you get from that, though, is Lonnie trying to paint the picture that maybe Joyce isn't exactly the best parent.
Uh-huh.
And
Gotta
so
love that.
take from that what you will.
Mm-hmm.
But it seems as though, like, he makes the idea that, well, one kid's lost. The other kid's running around despite what she wants. She's not around. Maybe she's not the best parent. Maybe you should have listened to me a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
And as the first time that maybe you could paint a little bit of doubt into, is Joyce making the best decisions? And I'm not saying that I'm buying that. And I certainly know what happens going forward.
Yeah.
But it does at this moment have, if you have only watched these 2 episodes, make you go,
No, see,
especially with that comment from earlier too. These other people in the town, whether or not you want to buy it, people around Joyce don't necessarily always believe that Joyce is doing the right thing.
Yeah, I mean, they don't want to believe the woman. Like, we've heard this story time and time again.
Okay.
And that is what's happening here. And we have Lonnie really being this total deadbeat dad who clearly doesn't care at all about his son being missing.
He definitely does.
He does not care at all. Even says, well, does your mom know where you are right now? Well, I guess she has 2 missing boys instead of just one.
Yeah.
And I mean, he is just a total jerk the entire time. I mean, there is no way, even the first watch, I'm like, who is this dude with this trashy girl at the house? I mean, it was just, no.
He's not painting a good picture for himself.
No.
But he is also just trying to paint that maybe Joyce isn't a good picture.
Well, of course he's going to.
And
a guy like that, right? Like, he doesn't want to take any of this blame. And he's saying to his son, come out to the big city. People are moving out here. And then it like shows where he's living. And it's like, yeah, the big city. Like, I mean, this guy is,
I feel like Hawkins is more of the big city.
I don't know even where. I don't know if they said exactly where he lived. Was there a road sign? I missed it if there was one that showed where Jonathan was driving to. I'd have to do a little bit more of a research into that. But either way, where Lonnie lives, it's not looking great. This is not looking like a wealth of opportunity out here. And, and then you even have his girlfriend, after Jonathan leaves, joking, saying, oh, maybe I'll trade you in for the younger model. It's like, wow, lady, how classy. I mean, she probably was only like 5 years older than Jonathan, though, too. And it just...
she's closer to Jonathan's age for sure.
And listen, when we first meet Lonnie in the hallway, he literally physically attacks Jonathan. Then he does end up embracing him. But the whole thing is awful. Lonnie is just a piece of work.
Okay, so after Lonnie, though, we do get what starts to feel like the first break for the police officers, as Hopper is questioning this guy. I don't know his name. I don't think his name was said, but I'm just going to call him some restaurant goer he was
a patron
regularly
at the
at
restaurant.
Benny's.
Yes.
He's just one of these guys who's there eating at the restaurant, and he was there that night, and he mentions to Hopper that there was some kid who was in the back trying to steal food. And the idea is, is that Will? He shows pictures of Will No, not Will. He had a shaved head. Like, well, if you shaved his head, could it be Will? Maybe. Like, they're about the same size. And if you shaved Will's head, I mean, it's plausible.
Yeah.
And you got nothing else to go on right now, right?
Yeah.
If you're Hopper, this is the best thing you've heard all week. So, yeah, you're making a play here. So this is the first time we actually get some movement in that direction.
Because at least hey, a child has been seen, right? And there was something suspicious. That's a big deal. Yes.
A random child who is looking for food has appeared at this random restaurant.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
And listen, eyewitness testimonies are the worst. They're basically useless, is what I've found. And
pretty
just
much
learned over the years of listening to various true crime stuff. But it basically, they're meaningless. Our memories are not great. We're not good at recalling details. We remember what we want to remember, and we're so easily influenced then by new information that we're learning, right? So if there's like a suggestion that's given, oftentimes people will just feed into that suggestion and color their own memories with that information. So it's natural. So
it's one of those things too where I feel like everybody's like, oh, I have this memory from when I was, you know, 1 year old or 2 years old, and this is what happened. And it's like, well, do you remember that? Or do you remember being told this story so many times that you've painted this picture in your head and now you remember that?
Yeah.
It's always very interesting. And there's no way to really like lock that in. But I think people hear a story, they tell themselves the story, they paint the picture they want to believe.
Yeah.
And then they try to like tell that story. And you can tell that the Patreon does not have a clear memory of this.
No, but it's a big deal.
Needless to say,
yeah.
There was a kid.
Yep.
And that's important.
That is very important, and then we're at the Wheeler's house where Nancy is asking if she can go to on a, along with the search party. She has to be home by 10. But really we find out she's not part of the search party. She wants to go to that house party. Not sharing that shred of information with the parents,
Yeah. And I don't remember exactly what it was. I'm going to take your word for it that she was trying to get to a search party. She was trying to get to something.
There was some type of vigil
it was an event for Will.
Yes.
And then the question was reflected to Mike, like, well, don't you want to go to this?
No.
And he's like, well, no.
And at that moment too, 11 actually starts to come down the staircase randomly
through the living room in the background.
What? And that's when he blurts out no and like spits milk and makes everyone look directly at him, and then she races back upstairs.
The boys are there.
Yes.
The other boys are there.
Yes.
And so Dustin just like bangs the table for no real reason. Everyone's like looking at him.
Yeah.
It's like, sorry.
Yeah. So, and then, you are with the cops again briefly where they find another piece of evidence. They don't know how it's all related, but they do find a tiny shred of a hospital gown in a drain pipe. So they're wondering what is going on here. As they're looking for Will in the woods, they're seeing this shred of cloth. And it is that very distinct pattern that is like from a Johnny or a hospital gown.
Yes.
So, and it's right before.
And the drain pipe.
Yes, the department.
The drain pipe leads
to
the lab.
Yes, exactly. So the boys are then. Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, they're starting to bond with Elle over explaining what promises are and spit swears and things like that. And and Lucas and Dustin, this is where they really start to kind of connect, and they start to understand that maybe Elle is someone we want to keep around. Because I think at this point Mike has explained that, hey, she knows Will. So this is our actually best ticket.
Yes.
This is our chance here. We want to keep her around.
Yeah, they have a really good lead.
Okay, so then we now get this scene where Nancy and Barb are going to the party. It's a short scene, but the whole idea is that Nancy is trying to implore Barb to basically keep her out of danger. She doesn't want to do anything stupid. She doesn't think she's going to do anything stupid. She's very confident that she can handle Steve. And we saw her handle Steve in the first episode. But Barb is here to kind of be that security blanket so that if she does start making some poor decisions, Barb is going to be the one that pulls her out of it.
Yeah.
Then we get another very short scene where Hopper wakes up with some girl and he, was kind of going through the morning stuff. And then I know she wakes up and he asks her, do you ever feel cursed? Which again is just a spotlight into how Hopper feels. Like that things are just going bad for him all the time. And it just, like they're continuing to paint this very detailed picture on Hopper in his life.
Yeah, yeah.
But then we go back to the boys.
Yeah, then we're back with the boys and, we're in the Wheelers' basement and we have this really important scene where they have the game board to Dungeons and Dragons. And they're trying to, I think, use it as just some type of map, right? So, like, if
they had it set up because they were playing the game in the first episode.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
Like, the pieces are all there and everything is still laid out.
And they're trying to get her to use that as, like, it's like, okay, so if you were here, where was Will, right? And
yeah, they're trying to figure it out.
Yeah, so they have all the pieces out, and so she then takes the board and flips it over, right? Which then really is foreshadowing to what we know, those of us who have seen the show, what is referred to as the upside down, right? So she's flipping the board over.
Makes a ton of sense going back and rewatching it, that this is the upside down.
Yes.
But we don't know it to be that for a while.
For a while. Yeah. Yeah. I forget exactly when that term comes into play. We will find out. And so that's when
I thought it was also very symbolic that the backside of the game board was black.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Totally black. And she just slaps down Will's character right in the middle of the darkness.
Yes.
And is like, Will.
Yes. And then she takes the creepiest character, who we know to be the Demogorgon, and puts it right next to Will. And so and we know that character, even if you're not a D&D person, even if we don't know that that's what this creepy thing floating around has been, but they use that character in the game. Like they use that piece in the very first episode, and they're like, oh, at least it's not the Demogorgon, blah, blah, blah. And then it was, and the game starts going crazy, and that's all part of their gameplay from the first one as well. So then that gets put down right next to Will, and they all look around going, oh crap. Right. So she's explaining to them that he's not gone, he's hiding. And he's hiding on the other side of this game board, and he's hiding from this monster, right? And then we're with Jonathan again, who is taking pictures. He's crossed over police barricades, and he's trying to find anything in the woods that will be a clue. And as he's taking photos, he's hearing them screaming in the distance. I mean, it sounded like pretty bad at first. I'm like, wow, that does not sound like kids just having fun, but it was.
I'm not going to lie. I know there was a story that me and a couple of friends of mine were like in the pool hanging out, and we may have been roughhousing. And
I do
apparently
remember this.
The police were called because they thought someone was like being murdered, because we were like, me and another friend of mine were like pushing the other one around. It was all fun and games, but the police came to the house, and I know Mom had to get out there and be like, no, they're just being idiots.
Yeah.
Like, it's fine.
And we grew up in a small
town.
And so,
like, this scene, hearing Jonathan run towards all this screaming and then seeing they were, like, outside a pool, I'm like, yeah, okay, I get that.
Yeah, and I mean, we grew up in a small town not that unlike Hawkins, so like
True.
no street lights, like in the middle of nowhere. So yeah, when you're hearing just like screaming bloody murder from a pool, it's like, is someone being drowned? Like what is happening right now? But again, like
But
nothing
it wasn't.
nothing happened
He
in
was
our town
fine.
either. Yeah, he was. So yeah, so he's hearing this screaming, is running through the woods, and just to see that same group of kids who were teasing him from the other side of the hall, they're just at this house, throwing each other into a pool, or I think at that point, just attempting to push each other into this pool.
Yeah.
And
We're just messing around on the edge.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you what, Jonathan at this point starts taking pictures of the people at the party. And this is where I go, Jonathan, you're crossing lines now, buddy. Okay?
You're being a little
I
odd.
was with you. You were taking pictures in the woods trying to find evidence. You're doing good. But now you're here just snapping photos of people randomly. Like,
hey, listen.
I understand why maybe everybody doesn't like you at school so much.
He's an artist. Listen, you got to get your start somewhere. He is taking artistic photos. Most of them are focused on Nancy, it seems. It becomes clear that he does really like her. He's kind of focusing in on her. But and it wasn't at the initial stages. I'm like, okay, he's just taking a couple photos, but then he's out in the woods for a while taking pictures.
Listen, if someone is just snapping photos of you and they go, hey, whoa, I'm an artist. You're not okay with this.
Okay.
This is not okay. This has got to be like a permission slip sign somewhere or something.
Yeah, fair. Listen, this is before Facebook. He's not posting anything online, so this is
that's true. This is the 80s. Yeah. We're a long way from social media.
It's a little bit different. There wasn't a lot going on. You're just taking pictures of random things you see. That's but point taken. And at this point too, we're also then with Barb, because Nancy, even though, listen, she wants Barb to be. I'll melt with you.
Get the song. I'd stop the world and melt with you. Yes. Playing in the background. That's great.
I know.
Like more of these good songs.
I know. It was so good. But so Nancy is trying to fit in with the group, and I'll tell you what, like, listen, she wanted Barb to come with her to be this, as Eric put it, like her kind of like security blanket. But she immediately, it's like, really though? Like, or did you just want her to be there to watch you kind of make bad decisions and then like convince you to try to do better? I don't know. Listen, they're teenagers.
They're not friends. I said this last episode, Barb and Nancy.
Yes, they are.
That does not make any sense. It doesn't work. I know you're trying to say what you said last time, that they're a small town and they were friends and then they grew up together. Listen, they're running in different circles. It's very obvious.
No.
How Barb even got an okay invite to this party.
That's not true.
I do not understand.
No, that's not true.
You're gonna tell me that other girl who I don't know her name was okay with Barb coming to this thing?
No,
not a chance.
But she and Barb are friends. Nancy and Barb are definitely friends. They grew up together 100%. They're friends.
Yeah, but Nancy's breaking off.
She trusts Barb's point of view. She trusts that Barb is looking out for her best interest, right? So she knows that Barb...
Let's go forward about 15 seconds.
Well, so that's the thing, though, is that's my point, is that even though she knows that Barb is looking out for her best interest, they very much have almost more like a sibling relationship where like she, like an older sister, she knows that Barb is looking out for her. Whether she'll listen to her or not is another whole story, right? So it's like she wants Barb to be there to kind of just in case something terrible happens, because guess what? Then Nancy is shotgunning beers. She like quickly, all of a sudden, I'm like, what is going on here? She like, expertly does this. This isn't the first time. And then Barb, she's also then just trying to fit in, right? So like then Nancy is with these cool kids trying to pressure Barb to like shotgun a beer. I'm like, this quickly has taken a turn. And so poor Barb,
say what I'm saying.
She's taking a knife and then ends up, and I knew as I'm watching this, I'm like, oh God, yep, this is where she cuts herself, because she slips on the can. And listen, you're talking to someone, I've never shotgunned a beer in my entire life, not gonna lie. I mean, I just have never done it. So I don't know.
I'm not really that much of a beer person.
Yeah, I like a beer.
No, that was never in my wheelhouse.
I like a good drink, but I mean beer, and I've never done it. So I'm looking at that. I'm like, that's something I would do, Barb. Totally relate. I'm like, I would totally slip with that knife and probably cut my hand, and that is what she did. And so then she is injured, and the whole group is, listen, they're just hanging out at the pool. They don't really care too much, and then they're pushing each other.
No, they're like, hey, go inside.
Yeah, go figure it out, Barb.
They don't care.
No, they don't care. And so yeah, but then we have
Nancy's the only one that's supposed to care about Barb, and she doesn't really.
Well, she does, but she is in the moment, and she's too into herself. She's being a selfish teenager, and I mean that also just does happen. So I don't think it's a matter of her not caring deeply about her friendship with Barb. I think it has more to do with the fact that she is just being kind of a selfish brat at this moment. So
well, that may be true. It's not the same Nancy we saw in the first episode. That's for sure.
So she's realizing she's at this house party, and
yeah, but then we do pivot.
Yes.
And we get another phone call.
That's right.
From Will.
Yes.
To Joyce. And she recognizes it immediately, and she's trying to talk to Will, and you're just hearing this mumbly breathing and stuff. And then you hear Will's voice once. You hear him say, "Mom?"
Oh my God.
And that's
I got the chills.
That's it.
Yes.
And then the phone busts again. You get
the lights are flashing.
You get all the lights going. You get this weird music playing. Power goes off. Joyce is going through the whole house trying to find things as lights are getting real bright. And the wall starts bending out at her.
Well, and the song that was playing was The Clash, Should I Stay or Should I Go, which is the song that Will and Jonathan had connected on earlier. So I think he was trying to send this message. If Jonathan had been there, he might have understood, right? I mean, that's a little bit far-fetched, but yeah. But then the wall bending, yes.
But we'll say this, at this moment in time, I don't know that we know that Will is trying to send messages. No. But Joyce runs out to the car, gets in, and then when the music turns on again, should I stay or should I go? She
comes back in.
Kind of makes her way back in. And maybe that's the moment when she starts believing something's up with this.
Well,
something is different here.
I mean, what was that coming through? Was that like a giant fist of like a beast? Was that supposed to be a face? I watched it a couple times. I'm like, what? What was that? Trying to come through the wall.
I think the reason that it's very quick is because then, like, you don't know.
Yeah.
There's just a figurey thing
pushing
coming through the wall. But I'm telling you what. If my wall starts bending in on me, I'm out.
Oh my God. It looked like they turned the wall into what looked like silly putty, and she is running out the door. And then, it makes sense with the song, Should I Stay or Should I Go? And then she's making she's making that decision and realizing, listen, where am I going with this story too, right? Like this whole town thinks I'm nuts. And now what, am I going to go to the cops and tell them my wall is bending and the lights are flashing and my son just said mom over the phone? No one is going to believe me, because one other thing that happened, her phone got blasted again with the lightning bolt, right? Like that has happened now again. And so she is just trying to figure out like what's going on. These lights are flashing. It's almost like, is he trying to send like SOS like through with some type of like Morse code? I don't know, like
she knows that whatever it is, Will is able to communicate to her through the phone, at least at the house. And maybe she's starting to put some of this other stuff together, that maybe there's more than just the phone here.
Yeah.
Especially since he flips the music on. Well, the music comes on when she gets in the car.
and then
but then
we're back at the party.
We hard pivot back. We're back to the party. And all the kids have basically been pushed into the pool, and they're all soaking wet. And the two that are a couple that I don't know their names. I know Barb mentioned their names at one point earlier on. That they have gone off on their own to do who knows what. And Steve and Nancy are then going upstairs in the
And
house.
Barb sees Nancy going
And
upstairs.
she does. And the implication is that they're going to get, or that Nancy says they're going to get changed into like dry clothes. But
I think the implication is something different. And that's when Barb... then Barb looks at Nancy and just says, Nance, this isn't you. You know, because she, again, she knows who Nancy is. She knows what Nancy really wants to focus on. But in this moment, Nancy has shifted gears. And, you know, as much as, and this is where I just feel like Nancy's being a bit of a jerk in this episode, because it's like, you know, she took Barb to this party with a job, you know, with a task. Hey, make sure I stay on track. And then pretty much immediately is like, you know what, Barb, I really don't want you to keep me on track. And she has shifted gears entirely. And, you know, and as then Nancy is upstairs, you then pan back out to Jonathan, who is still in the woods taking pictures. This
very artistic of him. Right. Come on, Jonathan. Come on, Jonathan. You've made some mistakes here.
But we are glad that Jonathan is out there being a little creepy artist because he then sees Barb on the diving board at the pool. So while Barb does leave,
she's left Nancy, but hasn't
that is
really
right. And
left.
That is because
so she hangs out at the pool.
Because she, even though Nancy is telling her, Barb, you know what? Go home. I don't need you here anymore. Guess what? Barb is staying. She is still going to watch out for Nancy, even though Nancy is pushing her away, because she, again, really cares about Nancy. So she's left the house, but she is not leaving the premises, and she is hanging out at that pool with her feet dangling into the pool, sitting on the diving board, and you then see this blood drip from her hand into the pool. And I'm not remembering if that was part of what led us to the next moment. If that was like, hey, like part of her was now in the pool and that led.
Well, we get, this is what we know. That she had her hand was cut. Some of the blood from her hand dropped into the water. We then get power flashing like it is at the Byers' house. And out of nowhere, monster shows up, screeches, and then we get a flashback to Jonathan in the woods, who looks back at the diving board. There's nobody.
Oh my gosh, everything went dark. And this thing, just lands behind Barb. You don't see it. It's like, is it a gargoyle? Like, what just like flew down and landed behind her? And you just see her looking back over her shoulder. And John taking pictures of Barb on the diving board and then looks back and she's gone. You know, the lights come back on and everything has changed.
And so Jonathan just walks off at that point. Yeah. He's like, oh, all right. She vanished. Cool. I'm out. But I suppose from his perspective, because he's like fiddling with getting film in the camera. Kids today. That was a thing. I don't know if you know about that. But he was taking the film out, putting that away, getting the next roll of film, getting that all situated. And by the time he looks up, she's gone. And I imagine from his perspective, it was just that she got up and left during the time that he was doing that.
Yeah, right.
Totally missed the monster attack.
She zoomed right out of there. So, but you know, a couple and then that's how the episode ends, right? Like that's what we're left with is now we have two people that have vanished, right? So, so a couple things, you know, in addition to the music that we pointed out, that actually the two songs that we mentioned on this were the two that I noted to myself on the side too. Should I Stay or Should I Go by The Clash and I Melt With You by Modern English. I love those two. Yeah. So good. But you know, one thing that I noticed about this episode in particular is how many parallels it draws to E.T., right? So Mike feigning sickness to stay home with 11, just as Elliot did with E.T. Mike showing 11 his toys, including the Yoda figure, and that directly mirrored Elliot showing his toys to E.T. And her fascination with the television. She was like playing with like the rabbit ears, and that's all of that is just really it mirrored E.T. so perfectly, and that was, you know, a classic 80s movie. So I love that. He really was like calling back to them.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. And if you are, you know, one of these Gen Z, Gen Alpha, younger people who don't remember the 80s so well, go back and watch E.T. Go back and watch E.T. Young Drew Barrymore, like young as in she was like 8. Like, awesome.
And there was a quarry scene when the cops were searching for Will. And actually I learned that scene was the same location that was used in the first season of The Walking Dead too. So if we have any Walking Dead fans listening, I was like, really? Oh, that's pretty cool. So apparently they shot in the same location. Pretty neat.
Excellent. I had no idea. That's great though. That's good. That's a good little fact there.
Okay, so next, what we want to do is discuss our favorite character and our least favorite character from episode 2 of Stranger Things. So, Eric, if you want to kick this off, who is your favorite character?
Yeah, just to clarify, it's not our favorite character for the entire series.
No, just this episode.
Nor is it our least favorite character for the entire series, but it's really like the person who we resonated with most for whatever reason, or least on this episode. So I think I'm going to, which one do I want to start with? Let's start with most favorite character. And in this one, I think I'm not going to pick this person a lot. So I feel like I should pick this person for this one because I feel like this was a really big episode for Mike. I think this was a really great Mike episode. I think he did a lot of work with 11. The whole being able to identify that she knows Will. We get the board flipping scene. He's convincing the other boys, no, let's not like rush off here. He's got scenes with his mom. He's got a bunch of scenes here that I feel like he's starting to put more of this puzzle together than Hopper is, than Papa is. He's starting to put a lot together. So for that, I'm usually going to try to pick the one who I feel like did the most heroic event. So for me, just being able to start piecing that puzzle together, I'm going to take Mike.
And for a 12-year-old boy, I feel like he was really showing a lot of emotional intelligence too, with connecting with 11 in that way. I mean, it probably
being able to teach her vocabulary.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it speaks highly to just who he is. I mean, he probably, I think he probably didn't always have that type of attention himself. So is probably trying to like, hey, what is this? What does this kid need from me, and be there for her in that way. And so, and when I say that, I'm speaking to like, how maybe his father hasn't been there for him in that way. Because we kind of witnessed that in the first episode. And I don't think the dad was even in this one.
He was in the background.
Oh, he was.
But I will refrain from picking him as the worst two in a row.
Yeah. So,
but he was present.
Now, I will say my favorite character for this episode, which I've kind of driven at already a little bit, is Barb. I have to say, because Barb also, like, listen, she vanishes at the end of this episode, too. We don't know how much we're really going to be seeing of Barb throughout the season.
This is her only chance to be the best,
right?
By the way.
Well,
this is it.
No, she does, but she comes back, but we'll get there. And so But listen, as I was saying, she's encouraging Nancy to stay true to herself and puts up with a bunch of jerks to try to get through to her. You know, even when Nancy tells her to go home, she doesn't want to leave her friend behind. It then places her in a compromised position for demons. So, yeah. So really, Nancy does feel pretty bad about that right away. We'll see in the next episode when they realize that Barb is gone.
For what it's worth, like, Nancy was my favorite in the last episode.
Yeah.
And for that same reason, Barb absolutely deserves to be on that list this episode too. It's probably Barb's best episode.
Yeah.
Genuinely.
Yeah.
But it ends poorly for her.
Yeah. Yeah. And, you know, I will go into then my least favorite character. And you know what? Now I can say it because we met him. Lonnie. Okay, Lonnie.
I know where you're.
We have an even worse deadbeat dad than Mr. Wheeler here. This guy has zero, you know, presence or accountability for his kids, even as to go as far as insult Joyce's parenting, who is really the only one who shows up for these boys. He's a total loser. You know, he's the worst. So Lonnie is my least favorite character for episode 2.
I knew you were going to say that. You tried to argue for it last week, and all he did was be mentioned on the phone.
Oh gosh, Lonnie.
I will go a different direction. And this person will not be my least favorite character very often, but Jonathan, man, what are you doing?
Oh,
I am not.
Leave him alone.
I was with him when he's posting the pictures on the school board. Everything after that, even like how he tried to confront Lonnie and everything in the woods, is just, dude, you are not helping yourself out. You're not doing the right things. You are only making things really awkward for yourself. This is bad. Now, I will say, I did have like Lucas as a potential character I didn't like either, because he was so harshly against 11. But I think that's a realistic perspective.
Yeah. Well,
like that's not so far off from where I would imagine maybe I would have been in that situation. Like, I don't think I would be the one trying to hide the person in my basement. I would have been like Lucas, being like, we gotta let somebody know this is not okay.
Yeah. And
so I'm not going to make it Lucas. But Jonathan, you're doing some creepy stuff out there, and it's not good.
But listen, I will say, you know, about Jonathan, just one more note on that is, listen, this is also what happens when you've been the outcast of a group, right? Like you do not fit in. You don't have a lot of friends. You don't have any friends. You know what? His friend is his camera, and that's what he does, right? So he is trying to do what he can. This is a kid who already is working, right? Like, none of these other kids they don't have jobs. So he is working. He's in school. He's still just a kid. And, you know, so I will say that I still do have a lot, you know, of empathy for Jonathan. I realize that, you know, maybe he could be easily seen in this creepy light, taking pictures in the woods, and that's probably not adding to any chance at kind of fitting in. But I think he's kind of past that at this point. Like, Jonathan, I don't think he really cares about fitting in. He's just trying to Jonathan, you do you, buddy. Like that's
here's the thing. And to his credit, Jonathan's best scene in this episode is when he's playing Should I Stay or Should I Go, in the flashback with Will.
He's a good kid.
Trying to, like,
that's right,
drown out the parents. Like, that's such an amazing thing to do. Love every bit of that. But the photography at the end is maybe the creepiest thing that any of the characters did. Even Lonnie, like, listen, you know what Lonnie is. He's terrible. But, like, Jonathan, you're making big mistakes here.
But the photos are good. Because it's the photos
I don't disagree
at the
with
pool that then, listen, no one else is going to have that evidence of what happened there, of what we saw at that pool. So listen, call it what you will.
I'm just saying it's not a good look for Jonathan.
He's a hero.
Okay.
Well, he is. All right, we'll leave it up there. Oh, man.
Okay.
All right, and then we want to do some ratings, right?
Yep. Okay, so now we're going to jump into our IMDb rankings. And for those of you who have been listening to our Friends episodes, we typically go through a few different episodes all at the same time and then figure out which one we like, or which one was the highest and which one was the lowest. Since we're only doing one episode, we are trying to figure out what that rating may or may not be. Last week, Amanda, episode 1, you knocked it on, like spot on.
That's
8.5 was the first one. And we do know that an 8.6 is the average. So
total of the whole series is 8.6.
Of the series is an 8.6. So, the entire series, not just season 1, the whole series is an 8.6.
And for me too, listen, I'm rating it what I rate it, not necessarily trying to guess what it would be rated, but just how I feel.
Yeah,
right.
That's
how I feel it should be rated. And I will
keep, but I will just say this. I will keep that average in mind.
Yes, right,
so
right. Okay.
It's unlikely that I rate any of these episodes like a 2. You know, I'll keep it.
We probably wouldn't be doing this if we felt that way, but yeah.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like
maybe
I'll
there's
keep
a 2
it within the span, but I will go way above and way below. Yeah. But I'll try to keep it, within the range of knowing what the average is.
Yeah, I don't know. So for me, this one, to be honest, so I gave the first episode an 8.5. I feel like I am right. I mean, maybe, I'm gonna give this. I am going to give this an 8.5 again. I feel like really, I'm going to stay right there. I feel like it had, again, a great amount of suspense, great storytelling. As we were talking about earlier, the story, it's just so tight how it moves from like one sequence to another. The pace of the show is just so good. So, I mean, I feel like that was a solid rating, and I'm going to stick with that for sure on my end. How about you, Eric?
Okay, so last week I gave the episode like a 9.1, I think, and it ended up being an 8.5. So I'm going to use that to try and because I feel like I'm probably trying to be more guessy with it. So if it was an 8.5, I do. I want to try to agree with the people. So if it was an 8.5, this is where I will put my biases in. I like the first episode more than this one.
Okay.
So therefore, this has to be lower, but not a lot lower. So I'm going to give this one like an 8.2 and just knock it back a little bit because I do love the first episode, but I feel like in this episode, the scenes I really enjoyed watching were the ones with Eleven and Mike. And that was not as much of this episode as I would have liked.
Right.
Like the Nancy party scenes were fine. They were certainly good at the end.
Yeah.
The Hopper scenes were only okay.
Yeah, right.
The Joyce scenes were only okay. So I'm gonna knock it back a little and call it an 8.2.
Other than the Joyce with the wall incident and her running out into the car. But that was a very quick scene. That probably only lasted like 2 minutes.
But as opposed to like her shopping for the new phone and talking to the boss and all that stuff.
Yeah. Okay. That's fair. Yeah. What do the people say?
Okay. So here's what the people say. Neither of us got it spot on.
Yep.
But it is an 8.3.
Oh my
goodness. Which I think is, I think that's reasonable. I think that's a really good rating for this because it is, it's less than the first episode.
Yeah.
I stand with that.
Okay.
8.3 instead of 8.2.
Yeah.
I'm good with that.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like
I'm going to ask you, you picked them both exactly the same. Which one did you like more?
And that that's what I was kept going back and forth about as we're discussing this episode, and I really like them the same. I mean, I guess sort of to your point, I could almost argue for liking the first one a bit more because I actually was about to say either 8.4 or 8.3, but at the end of the day, I'm really thinking about this really is moving us in this really exciting direction, right? So even though we got more of a we learned more about Hopper, which I really loved in the first episode, and the way that the opening scene was in the first episode before we even had the credits roll was, oh my god, it was so good. The moment of Hopper being out in the shed where he gets startled and we get startled right along with him. I mean, all of that was awesome. And I do feel like I understand then that those 0.2 points,
couple tenths of a point deduction.
But otherwise, what I love,
it's like the gymnast who lands, but they waver a little bit on their footing, and it's like, it was still really good.
Yes,
but it's not quite as good as the first one.
But the end of this episode where Barb goes missing, oh my god! I mean, that is like crazy, and so that's why that then jacked this episode back up a few notches for me.
You know what the other thing is? In the first one, you get way more of like the Demogorgon too.
Yes.
You get way more like action early.
Yes. Right away.
And so that sets you on edge the whole time.
Yes.
Where in this one, it's more of like a jump scare at the end, and you get the scene with Joyce in the house.
Yes.
Outside of that, you're just kind of learning more about the characters. And I don't disagree. This was a really good character development episode, but, you know, it's leading to then more action and engagement and entertainment moving forward.
And that scene where 11 flips over the game board, that gives me the chills. Like when I saw that, I'm like, oh my gosh. And I don't know if that's more like a rewatch that's giving me chills. You know what I mean? Like it's hard to remember if the first time I saw it, you know, I think it's just because it has so much more meaning now too. It's like, oh gosh,
so
he's hiding.
I think this is my third rewatch of season 1.
Yep.
Most of the future seasons, it'll only be my second time rewatching them. But that moment where she slaps it down, spikes Will down in the middle of it, like, great. That was an incredibly impactful scene in this. I mean, Joyce's scene in the house is the most memorable scene, I think, from the entire episode. That being second, though. I like that moment with 11 is second to that. With then like the pool scene at the end probably being the third best, in my opinion.
I gotta say, I'm just really excited that we're watching this series. I am psyched to be on the Stranger Things bandwagon because it's such a great show, and it has you know, just the nostalgia of the 80s and being able to enjoy these episodes again and really like dig into the details more is just a lot of fun. So, yeah.
Okay, so thanks so much for listening to the We Run on Reruns podcast. Please follow us on Instagram and TikTok and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Again, we love all of you checking in with us weekly. And if you could just share this episode with one friend, it would be greatly appreciated. And check out our website on werunonreruns.com. So for Amanda, this is Eric. Enjoy watching episode 3 this week of Stranger Things. Happy rerunning, everybody.
See you later, guys.